Welcome back, troops. So what we have going on here is just a little bit of preparation for possible power cuts this winter. I say possible, obviously America has got a lot of bad weather at the moment, so there's gonna be a lot of power cuts in America. We've had bad weather in the Shetlands. There's been power cuts up there and around Aberdeen due to the weather. And then, as some of you, especially in the UK, will know, that it was suggested there could be rolling 3-hour blackouts in our coldest days through the winter. That's sort of January and February. Now the power company say that won't happen, but it could happen. So it's better to be prepared before the event than flapping about during or after the event. So I've just lit a few of the basic standby elements here, the candles. It's alright having them, but you've got to use them. Having them is only half of the battle. It's actually being able to use them that really matters. So I'm just, and it gets you familiar with how much light they put out, which is not a great deal, but it is enough. So we've got candles, plenty of candles. But before I cover through a few of the other things we've got, there's something we've all got, and that's if we've got a mobile phone, especially one of these modern ones, then on our mobile phone nowadays you find quite a powerful flashlight, or torch as we call it in the UK. So provided your phone is charged, most of us are carrying around with us already some illumination, and it's quite powerful, and it'll probably last quite a long time on the mobile phone battery. Anyway, I'll switch that off. Similarly, if you've got a battery bank, I've got one here. Where are we? There we go. Are we familiar with the controls in the dark? Obviously not, but the power bank, not as much light, but quite a usable light. So we're looking at power cuts then, possibility, but we're only in this video concentrating on lighting. Obviously if you've got power cuts, you've got other considerations as well, such as heating and cooking, but we have those covered in part with the wood stove, and we also of course have a gas stove. And then you've got things to consider like your fridge and your freezer and any other appliances that run off electricity. It's just worth thinking, what would I do if the power went out for 3 hours or longer? So I've got my candles then, and obviously there's some benefits to candles. You can store them away, pretty much forget about them unless the temperature rises too much, of course, because the wax does become soft when it gets hot. But they're fairly robust, you know what you get. Of course they have got some downsides in that obviously they are fire, they're a live flame, and so I've got mine in these simple metal cans that I've made myself, and I've made a little video of these. I wouldn't say these are super safe, and they've certainly got sharp edges on them, but as long as you fix the candle in there and I punch a nail through the bottom and I melt the candle onto that jagged edges that are sticking into the can after punching the hole, and these are fairly solid. And then we've got these little tea lights which I have little glass-sided, four-sided containment, and they're fitting there nicely. And you do need that with tea lights, because if you're going to be moving tea lights around, the whole lot of wax, it's not a high-grade paraffin wax. I don't know what it is, but it has a fairly low melting temperature, so it's not long before everything in that aluminium casing is liquid. Now we have another flammable light in the house, if you like. I'll just move this out of the way. I'll say something about this in a short time. But we also have a number of oil lamps, and they put out a little bit more light than a candle, last a lot longer. But again, you need to use an oil lamp to become safe with its operation. There are some things to take into consideration, like how delicate the glass is, and you've got to fill it up with paraffin and with or lamp oil, really lamp oil, not just paraffin, because cheap paraffin will stink the place out and it will give you a headache after not too long. Now I've got a small oil lamp here and a medium oil lamp, and I've got a much bigger oil lamp here, but I can't light that because there's no fuel in it. I'm not going to put any fuel in it, because if you put fuel in your oil lamps and you're not going to use them for a long time, many months, you'll find when you come to use them you have a lot less fuel in them because it's evaporated. So when we're not using them, we store the fuel in a sealed bottle. So the big one, that's not got fuel in it, and I'm not going to put fuel in it. Same with the candles really. I suppose the best candles you could get are beeswax candles, because they'll burn cleaner, they'll burn hotter, so they'll give off a bit more light, but they will be much more expensive. So I'm not going to fire up all my candles then. I'm going to go on to the next thing that I have a reasonable stock of, and that is LEDs, electrical lights, in many forms, starting with the most useful form, which is the head torch, because, and this one will strap on your head like that, head torch, that's what it does. And you can tilt it down and it puts the beam of light where your eyes are looking, just about. And I've got a few of them. They are all the ones I've got are battery operated, and this one does red as well. Nice blue light and a red light. I've got another head torch there, but no point switching them all on. And then I've got my bike light, back, bike light, front, 3 different powers and a flashing light on the bike light. And then I've got a number of torches from I don't know whether the battery in this one wants changing, but it's not a one I use much. This one actually fits onto a peaked cap, slides onto a peaked cap, so in a way it's another head torch, but I don't use that much. I haven't changed the battery in a long time, so I'm not worried too much about that one. But then we've got the regular, just normal torches, LED torches, and this one will spread a light out rather than form a beam as well if you're camping. Another one here, LED again, and another one there which hasn't got batteries in it at the moment, but I've got batteries for it here. A little tiny incandescent torch which is in one of my little first aid kits, but really wants changing out with an LED torch. We've got bigger LED lights with the magnets on the back, and these are normally stuck on the fridge in the kitchen. 1, 2, 3, 4, and another one here, and then we've got one of those, that one there needs the lights changing in it, and then we've got smaller versions, and these are all normally on the fridge in the kitchen. Now this candle is normally in the bathroom with a lighter on it, of course, so that stays in the bathroom, so if there was a power cut while you were on the toilet, you'd be able to sort things out quite easily. On most people's bedside is probably their mobile phone, as we've just looked at. And if you know how to go to it, your light on your mobile phone, then you'd have that up and running in next to no time. Same with your power bank. But by my bedside, in fact it's not with us at the moment, I'll just grab it. Okay, so on my bedside, I'll just lower myself down so you can see me. I've got this homemade torch, and it puts out, I don't know whether you can see that, but it puts out a very small amount of light. But when you've just woke up or the middle of the night, that's easily enough to illuminate the room, so you can orientate yourself and find your way around. This is homemade. It's got a switch on it there. It's got a blue LED on. The battery is a flat 1.5 volt alkaline cell, so it's below 1.5 volts. I've taken it out to something else because it went flat, but the circuitry inside boosts the voltage up to the required voltage, and it's just made out of one of these garden lamps, solar garden lamps. And this is a solar garden lamp, so I've got one here on and off, and one here, and every now and then I'll switch these on, and these two do have the solar panels still on them, and they do still have the rechargeable batteries in, and every now and then I'll switch them on and expose them to the sun, and when the solar cell's charging the battery up, the LED doesn't come on. It'll only come on in the dark. So in the daytime I can charge these up, but I don't charge them up very often, about once a month probably. But since I started doing videos, I also got some much more powerful LEDs. Now watch your eyes on this one. There you go. It takes up, oh, it's on flashing now. It's got 3 settings, high, low, and I'm not sure why you'd want flashing on a work light. Maybe there's a warning or something, I don't know. But we've got these high power. I've got 2 of these, and these are mainly for filming out in the garden on a night. So these are just some of the, they're not all the lights, all the illumination I can bring, but it's some of the illumination I've got in case we've got a power cut. But the main thing is knowing what you've got, and obviously if things run on batteries, then you need loads of batteries, and I've got loads of batteries here. If things run on flames, then you need lighters, which I've got loads of lighters here, and matches. So that just about covers what I would use for illumination in a Powercut. And I have got, they're not all switched on here by any means, because I'm just running the batteries down. But you know, in a Powercut, I think I've got lighting covered. So the problem with a Powercut is they happen so infrequently. It is really easy to think you're prepared, but you're not. The only way you find out that you are is to actually use them. Now, probably for a future video, I didn't mention, but this would have to be a whole video on its own, and that would be a Tilly lamp, which is another paraffin lamp, but this is high pressure and not really the sort of thing you want to be using in the house. It kicks out an awful lot of light, but it also kicks out an awful lot of heat as well, and starting it can be a bit tricky if you're not practiced in starting it. Very easy to have an accident starting a Tilly lamp if you don't know what you're doing. So we'll leave that out. And the other thing we're leaving out, which I've started to experiment with just a little bit, and that's, I do a bit of litter picking. I don't make a career out of it, I don't worry about it, but me and the dog, when we're out, we sometimes go out specifically to pick up litter where we know there's a bad area that maybe we want to use. We don't want litter all over the place. Or sometimes if we find a polythene bag and there's loads of litter there, we'll pick it up and we'll put it in a polythene bag. But what I find I'm finding is that's a battery, or one of them drills I found. Maybe I can use the batteries out of that. What I am finding is a lot of these discarded vape tubes, whatever you call them, and they have rechargeable batteries in them, although they are designed, most of them, not all of them, some of them are designed to be recharged, but most of them are not designed to be recharged, or the ones I find anyway. Yeah, if you take them to pieces, they've got a rechargeable battery in them, and that's a lithium 3.7 volt battery. Now, I say this is something I'd have to go into in detail in a different video, because you can't just charge them up willy-nilly, because they, if you overcharge them, they can burst into flames. If you use damaged ones, they can burst into flames. But you can, and I've got some somewhere here, somewhere, they've fallen in, oh here they are. I've got some little devices that you put between your charging, your 5 volt charging lead or power pack and the battery, that makes sure that the battery isn't overcharged, and will also make sure that the load you put the battery under doesn't bring the battery below a certain charge, because once they get below 2.5 volts or something like that, they become a bit tetchy as well. So that's just a work in progress. That's just out of interest. The main topic is, just because you haven't had a Powercut for a really long time, don't think it can't happen. So it's best just to think about it beforehand, and to discover the problems that you're going to come across before the event, rather than during it or after it. So that's it then. Light in a Powercut. It's fairly simple if you've thought about it beforehand. I mean, how many of us do not have a head torch or some sort of torch and a couple of candles in the cupboard with some matches and know where they are? So I'll just wish you all a very Merry Christmas, and with all the strikes we've got on in the UK at the moment, a very safe one as well, because the last thing you want to be doing at the moment is having to visit the hospital. Right, it's been a while, but I enjoy making the videos, but you know, life can be busy sometimes. So wish you all the best, and keep safe, keep smiling, keep moving.